what if the next person you met changed your life forever? Think about what that would mean for you. What are your goals? What are your ambitions? Who do you aspire to be? And I want you to actually think about this. Like, sit and think about it. No inspirational quotes from Instagram when you're thinking about your goals and your dreams, but just sit with that for a second. What are you trying to accomplish? And along the way, who do you need help with to accomplish those goals? Who do you need to meet? When I was 15, I wanted to become an entrepreneur, and so that was my goal. I aspired to be someone who could start a successful business. And along the way, I met someone who was willing to help me, right? Because the next person that you meet, the next person that you see at a cocktail party or add as a Facebook friend or invite on LinkedIn, those people should hopefully be helping you accomplish your goals, help you become more of the person you aspire to be, help you achieve your dreams. And so, fortunately, in a way, you'll see what I mean in a second, but fortunately I met someone who wanted to help me at 15 to become an entrepreneur. And when I started my first business, I made every single business mistake you can think of. I didn't raise enough money, didn't really know who my competition was. I had no idea what the end result would look like. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just a kid. But the biggest mistake of all was choosing the wrong person to meet. And I had a really bad mentor when I started. In fact, this guy was so bad that he was a former white-collar convict who spent time in prison for securities fraud on Wall Street. So, 15, I have these lofty, ambitious goals to become an entrepreneur, to start the next Facebook or whatever movie inspirational quote from Instagram picture of an entrepreneur you have in your head. And I not only didn't know what I was doing, but I had no help, and I had negative help in a way, right? I knew the wrong person. And not only did he have a bad track record, he had low integrity, he wasn't really a good person, but he also had no subject matter expertise in what I was working on, because I was working on a startup that allowed you to access tutors from around the world via web chat, which is not what I'm interested in at all today, but at 15, that's who I was, that's what I aspired to be like. And he had no integrity, he didn't know what he was doing, he had no network because he had spent time in prison. You sort of lose your entire livelihood when that happens, and his cellmate was Steve Madden, whose shoes I'm wearing. So you could tell who he associated with. Now when I was 16, I still wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had this learning experience to go off of, and so when I was sort of brainwashing myself with all the websites and magazines and the things you read when you know you're passionate about something and you want to explore that subject more and you're curious. For me, that was Entrepreneur, it was Inc., it was Forbes, and when I was reading one article on Forbes about the most connected man you don't know in Silicon Valley, I was like, that's the guy I need to meet. He's the guy who can help me accomplish my goals, be more of the person I aspire to be, help me accomplish what I'm dreaming about. And so let me tell you a little bit more about this guy, because it's great to have a sexy headline in the press, but when I was reading about him in this article, I could realize that he was a very good person. The article was all about how other people's lives had been changed by his connections. People had met at his parties, his mansion dinner party series, and had started companies like Summit, which is a billion-dollar company with 500 plus employees, and they're really changing the world, and not in sort of the inspirational quote way, but in the true sense of actually changing the world. The article was all about how everyone from Tim Ferriss to Warren Buffett's former pilots, professional soccer players, were all coming to hang out with him and be together. So that was the guy I wanted to be like, right? I did not want to be like a white-collar convict. I wanted to be like the most connected man you don't know in Silicon Valley. And so I reached out to him, and I offered to work unpaid in exchange for his mentorship. That was sort of the only value I had to provide at 16, was just my hard work, my sense of wanting to be an entrepreneur, so that's entrepreneurial spirit. And I was sort of conscious about this, even if I wasn't as conscious about it looking back as I am today. I knew that this was something I wanted to do and wanted to explore. So I reached out, offered to work unpaid in exchange for his mentorship. I ended up spending 2 years with him at his company. I went from unpaid intern to being on payroll, building their outbound sales system. That led to my consulting practice today, where I'm helping top thought leaders to launch their brands, and I'm helping Fortune 500 companies to do marketing campaigns. But also, I went to a barbecue, actually, the first time I was hanging out with this most connected man you don't know in Silicon Valley. And at that barbecue, I caught wind of the Thiel Foundation and what they were doing. They were paying kids not to go to school and actually build businesses and create crazy science things. Sort of like asteroid mining was one of the projects that kids I ended up meeting in this community were doing. And not that I didn't want to go to college, I ended up never going, but I don't advocate not going to college or going to college. I advocate being conscious about that, but that's besides the point. That's another talk, perhaps. But I was at this barbecue, caught wind of what the Thiel Foundation was doing and how they were bringing together like-minded young people from all walks of life, all over the world. We ended up meeting in New York at their second ever summit. And so at 17, for the first time in my life, I'm around other young people who have similar goals, similar dreams. They aspire to be similar people as I wanted to be. And so that really changed my life, and that sparked all my work in identifying the world's smartest and most talented millennials, which 2 books later, hundreds of relationships later, I'm proud to say that I'm doing my part in uniting these stories, these people, these inspirations to get all of you to act on your passions in life and unite in solving the world's biggest and most pressing problems. We're almost networking our way to a unified world in a way. So I want you to drop this idea of networking, that it's a bad thing, and I want to talk about real relationship building. Now, I'm going to use these 2 mentors that I had to give you 3 points to take away from today on how not to build relationships, and instead how you should be going about meeting the people that might actually change your life. Because it could be the person sitting to your left or to your right, or the person sitting next to you in your office if you're watching this at home. So using the stories I just gave you, the 3 basic steps I would take to building a world-class network in record time would be to be a good person. That's number 1. And I shouldn't even have to say this, but it's 2017, everyone has a different definition of what a good person is. What I would say is just have good integrity. You use your word and do what you say you're going to do. And don't dismiss people when you meet them. So if you meet someone at a coffee shop and they don't look the part of someone you aspire to be like, it doesn't matter. Just say hi, hang out with them, give them your time of day. Don't dismiss them because they don't look the part or they don't sound like they're the part that you want to be like. And I've had this happen to me. I've met major clients in a coffee shop in a random small town, and I'm from New York, but a random small town, I'm meeting some of my best clients ever. It's because I didn't dismiss them. Or if I'm at a cocktail party and I'm talking to people at my left and my right, you don't want to dismiss them because they might be the person you need to meet to change your life, or they might introduce you to the person that will change your life forever. So be a good person. That's step 1. Hopefully it's step 0 for all of you, and you already have that. But if you don't have that, improve how you are as a person. Step 2 is to provide value to people. So when you meet someone, don't think about me, or what's in it for me. That's our favorite radio station, right? Like WII, what's in it for me? So WIIFM, what's in it for me? That's our favorite radio station as humans. But think about what you can provide to other people and the value you can give them. This goes back to me at 16 offering to work unpaid in exchange for someone's mentorship. I didn't say, mentor me, I need help, me. Is like, I want to help you build your company. I want to give up my dreams for a second and help you build your dreams. And along the way, I'll learn some stuff. This was totally different from my first business mentor, who was helping me but sort of wanted a stake in my company that didn't exist yet. And he was very selfish about how he ended up going about his day-to-day talks with me and conversations, especially after I found out his past. That's when it even got worse. So you want to provide value up front. And I got my first ever client in a similar way. I offered to do a month of work for free for the right person. My first ever client was a #1 New York Times bestselling author, a former Fortune 500 consultant. And after working with someone like that, I could go get a lot of other clients because they matched the profile of who I wanted to work with. So be a good person, provide value up front. It doesn't just have to be working for free. It could be making a helpful introduction. It could be listening. Listening is a commodity in 2017. So if you just be a beacon for someone else's ideas and actually take in what they're saying to you, that's value. But you want to be a good person, provide value, and then you want to be conscious about who you're spending time with. This is sort of the advanced trick. You really want to match the people you're looking to meet with your goals and with your aspirations and with your dreams. So if you are an entrepreneur, you probably want to meet other entrepreneurs, investors, people that might be able to come in and help you with your company. If you're a student, you might want to meet helpful professors, and so especially the right professors that'll actually mentor you and build you up as you go about your academic studies. You just want to be conscious about who you're spending time with and sort of hack the system and put yourself in a position where you'll succeed. So for me, this is spending time with what I call super connectors. These are individuals who are well regarded in their peer groups. They also know everyone in their peer groups. And so as I'm building a world-class network, which some people call it, I'm looking for the person in professional sports, in the investing world, in the entrepreneurial world, in the nonprofit world, all of whom are the plugs in their industry. They're the ones that everyone goes to, everyone respects and looks up to, and I want my network to look like a network of all those super connectors. And when you do this, relationship building and meeting the right people becomes easier and easier. Suddenly you don't have to be a 16-year-old cold emailing someone offering every single hour of your day to help them. You can just sort of meet someone at a cocktail party because you respected the person that invited you, and you knew that they were of high integrity and that they surrounded themselves with amazing people. And so that's when I go to parties from one of my mentors and I'm giving kale salad to Stacey London from What Not to Wear. That's happened because I just show up. It's a lot easier now for me to meet the right people than it was when I was 16. And so even in 5 years, I've built this amazing network by which I'm a good person, I provide value to everyone I meet, and meeting the right people becomes easier and easier because I'm hacking the system and I'm sort of putting myself in a good spot to meet these super connectors. So if I had to give you a takeaway, if I had to ask you to do something, it would be to think about the people you need to meet. Who do you want to meet at this conference? Who do you want to meet at the next event you go to? Who do you need to reach out to via email or phone or Twitter or Facebook or Snapchat and invite into your life? And what sort of value do you need to provide in return for access to those people? How can you help them accomplish their goals, their dreams? Help them become more of the person they aspire to be. Because if you can do that, then you can build a world-class network for yourself. But also there's sort of this bigger, grandiose thing that we need to think of. In our times, our problems are becoming increasingly exponential, just like our ability to meet other people. And so we have these really big problems that we need to solve for society. The idea of meeting people is tribal. We needed to meet other people to fend off the tigers that were attacking us as a tribe. And that's why people coexist and come together and work together. But we're going to have our own tigers of sorts coming at us in the next 10, 20, 50 years. And unless we bring the right people to the table to solve these problems in an inspiring way, in a really big way that makes a difference, we're not going to survive, I think. So it's literally a matter of life and death when we talk about networking. It's not, here's my business card, or can you help me get a referral so I can get a new deal or a client? It's literally life or death at this point. So I would challenge you, for yourselves to think about who do you need to be as the person to provide value to others? What value can you provide to others? Who do you need to provide value to? Who are the right people you need to meet right now? And then, what sort of world do you need to live in? What sort of passion do you need to act on in order to have that seat at the table when we're solving these big pressing problems and saving humanity? So think about all that. Hopefully that doesn't hurt your brain too much. Take some notes, send it to me. I'd love to meet you. And perhaps you're the person I've been dying to meet this whole time who will end up changing my life. So thanks for your time.